Given a geometric series, 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/8, find the sum. Now don't just add these numbers together. You have to use a formula for the sum of terms in a geometric series. So solution, we will recall the formula for the sum of the first n terms in a geometric series. It's the first term, a sub 1, times a fraction, 1 minus the common ratio to the nth power on top over 1 minus the common ratio on the bottom. That's only for geometric series. It doesn't work for any other type of series. Remember, a sequence is a list. A series is the sum of the numbers in the list. So this is a series. Okay, to use this formula, the first thing we should look for is a common ratio. They told us it was geometric, so we just can take any term and divide it by the term before it. Common ratio r equals the nth term divided by the n minus 1 term, the term before it. So take any term and divide it by the term before it. Let's try r equals 4 divided by 8. That equals 1 over 2. 1/2 is our common ratio. Okay, we'll plug that into the formula. Next, we're going to find the first term, a sub 1. Well, look at the list. What's the first term that we're adding here? A sub 1 is equal to 8. Okay, now the last thing we need to calculate the sum of the first n terms is the number of terms, n. Just count how many terms are being added up there. We see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 terms. So n equals the number of terms. That's what we're going to find. N is equal to 7 terms because we counted how many terms were in that list. Now we're ready to do step 4. Apply the geometric formula for the term of the first n, the sum of the first n terms. In this example, n equals 7. So it's s sub 7 we're looking for. The sum of the first 7 terms, it should say s sub 7, equals 8, the first term, times 1 minus the common ratio, parenthesis 1/2, raised to the power n, divided by, the power is 7, by the way, not n, divided by 1 minus the ratio 1/2, with n equal to 7. So it's s sub 7 equals 8 times 1 minus parenthesis 1/2 raised to the 7th power, because n is equal to 7. So it's minus 1/2 parenthesis to the 7th power over 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2. So let's simplify. The 7th power on the top and the 7th power on the bottom will give us 8 times 1 minus 1 to the 7th is 1 over 2 to the 7th. And then dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2, so we just bring a factor of 2 to the back. So that's 2 times 8 is 16 times, get a common denominator, 128 over 128 for the number 1, and then 1 over 2 to the 7th is 1 over 128. So we found that n to 2 to the 7 was 128, so we knew the second term in the parenthesis was 1 over 128. Therefore, we needed a common denominator for 1. We rewrote it as 128 over 128. So that's 16 times 127 over 128. And we go ahead and factor a common factor of 16 out of the top and bottom and cancel that factor of 16. And our final simplified answer is s sub 7, not n, but s sub 7, the sum of the first 7 terms of this geometric series is 127 divided by 8. And we didn't even have to add it, but if you did go ahead and get a common denominator and add all those numbers together at the top, guess what? That's exactly what you're going to get, 127 over 8. Now, let's see if you can do one. You try the same for this geometric series, 1 plus negative 1 plus 1 plus negative 1 plus 1 plus negative 1 plus 1. Now, I can just look at that, and real quick, I can see that the 1s and negative 1s cancel until I finally am left with the last one. The answer is going to be 1. That's the secret. The answer is going to be 1, but let's not do it by just adding. We are told to use this sum formula, the sum of the first n terms of a geometric series. And since this is geometric, we can use it. Step 1, pause the video and do steps 1, 2, 3, 4. See what your answer is. You know it's going to be 1. Come back and check it out. Okay, step 1. Common ratio, any term divided by the term before it gives me negative 1. And a sub 1, the first term is 1, and the number of terms is 7. There are 7 numbers being added, so s sub 7 equals a sub 1, which is going to be 1, times 1 minus a common ratio in parentheses. So it's 1 minus parentheses negative 1, raised to the 7th power over 1 minus parentheses negative 1. So that equals 1 times 1 minus, now look at when you take a negative 1 and you raise it to the 7th power, you're going to get a negative 1 to the 7th power, which is minus 1. Okay, so we have on the top 1 times parentheses 1 minus a negative 1 to the 7th power, which is just going to be negative 1, over 1 minus a minus 1. So that's 1 times 1 minus a minus 1 over 1 minus a minus 1. So it's 1 times 2 over 2, and that's equal to 1. Yeah, made a little mess of that, but I'm sure you did it right. Just as we suspected.